Good afternoon, welcome to Vanik-Ias. We will discuss current affairs of 6th April. First topic is related to APSPA. APSPA lifted from parts of Nagaland, Assam and Manipur. What is this APSPA? Armed Forces Special Power Act. What is this Armed Forces Special Power Act? It is such type of forces, armed forces, they are deployed in certain states like Manipur, Nagaland and your Assam and Arunachal Pradesh and some areas of Jammu and Kashmir. And what is a disturbed area? Disturbed area where we have seen many of the times where we have seen insurgencies, right? Insurgencies means a particular community will revolt against the government for some political rights like autonomy or different state or similar things, right? And that region especially or that region faces the secessionist challenge. For example, they want to usurp power from government of India. For example, some separatist nations, some separatists from Jammu and Kashmir, good afternoon Rasmita Raut, and some people from Jammu and Kashmir especially, they are separatists and they want autonomy or they want to take Kashmir away from India. So that is what we call as secessionist challenge. Another thing is that same type of problems we have seen in various areas of northeast, which we call as northeastern insurgency, right? So at that time in northeastern insurgency, it has seen that a parallel government was running there. Parallel government means even they were collecting the taxes in some region of northeast, some particular political group or a non-state actor, they are collecting the taxes. There is rampant corruption in the administration. There is also lack of development. There is frequent exchange of arms. There is arms dealing, drugs selling. All these areas we have seen all type of these disturbed things like arms trafficking, drugs trafficking, money laundering, crimes, corruption, weak government we have seen in northeast, right? That's why to provide security to the people of that region and also to the administration and to function and to develop bring economic development to those regions, government APSPA was imposed, right? Armed Forces Special Power Act. But it was heavily opposed by certain many also civilians. Why? Because you will see that suppose in your village every time there is a force, right? There is somebody who is standing with a gun, then obviously there is a fear. There will be a fear. There will be insecurity. There is also one type of frustration with them, because sometimes what happens when a particular area become war zone or insurgency happens, by mistakenly also firing to certain people happens sometimes, right? Suppose there is a fight between terrorists and the armed forces, there is chances that some civil casualties will be also there, and that fuels the anger among the masses, right? So masses, the who is not a terrorist, when his relatives or somebody he known dies because of the armed forces and the conflict between armed forces and the terrorists, that creates anger among the local communities, and also it is seen as a violation of right to privacy. Wherever you will go, you will see a force who is standing with a gun, right? In such a situation, people are not comfortable with that. They are opposing since long years. For example, there is Iram Sarmila. Iram Sarmila was an activist who has fasted for 16 years. Since the year 2000 to 2016, she has fasted, right, to remove the APSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, from Manipur, right? Such level of protest, huge protest against APSPA has seen, and it is one type of, also some scholars says that it also creates, APSPA also create terrorism, right? APSPA army creates terrorism. It's one type of trap. Wherever there is army, terrorism will be also created, and wherever there is terrorism, army will be deployed there. So once such cycle happens, it is very difficult for the state to solve the solution, because once terrorism develop in a particular area, force will be employed, right? And when a particular area become war zone, it is the war zone becomes, there will be some mass support to those terrorists or insurgents. For example, in case of Jammu and Kashmir, to those terrorists also some people are supporting them, right? Supporting the, for example, we have seen in the during the funeral of your Burhan Hani, huge number of masses were gathered, because the political leaders, the separated leaders is indoctrinating them. They are brainwashing those people that you should not work with the Indian government, you should oppose this Indian government by various wrong facts and figures. Only they are creating by various fake news, and also highlighting only the negatives to the local area. They indoctrinate them against the Indian state, and the result what happens? They support the separatists, right? They support the separatists. For example, government, yes, it's true that some of the civilians has died in Jammu and Kashmir, but also it is true that government of India has given enormous amount of money, huge amount of money for the development of Jammu and Kashmir, and even today it is investing huge amount of money. But this factor will not be told by those separatists. They will only say the negatives. For example, sometimes they also can compare them to the like freedom fighting in case of British era, whereas there is a huge difference. For example, in case of British has taken away so many rights of those people, and also they have taken so many wealth to London, whereas Indian government is continuously giving huge amount of money to those Jammu and Kashmir and the disturbed areas. If you see the northeast also, in northeast, in every scheme, in every centrally sectored scheme or in centrally sponsored scheme, for all other states, the share between center and state is 60:10%. But if you consider the northeastern state, the share of centrally sponsored scheme is 90:10. Generally, you will see such ratio. That means 90, if you are in a particular project, in a particular development, if 90 rupees is spent if 100 rupees is spent in total, then 90 rupees will be spent by the central government and 10 rupees will be spent by the state government. It is in case of northeastern states. But in all other states, it is 60 and 40. For example, in case of Odisha, in a program 60 and 40, in a program suppose 100 rupees is spent, 40 rupees is given by the state government and 60 rupees is given by the central government, right? So in such a situation, what we have seen, government is giving special funds, special assistance to northeastern states. Why it is giving? To make a balanced development, because northeastern state, because of hilly terrain, there is no such infrastructure development like other areas of the country. Suppose northeastern state, it is not even receiving 0.5% of the total FDI coming to the country, whereas some states like Maharashtra is receiving around 20% of total FDI coming to the country, Delhi is receiving 30% of total FDI coming to the country, but northeastern state is not even receiving 0.5% of FDI that is coming to the country. Why? Because there is no communication. Why there is no communication? Because one thing is that we have neglected, because that is an insurgent area. Another thing is that we have not focused on balanced development, and third thing is that the problem of hilly terrain and also the environment. Northeastern area, it is coming under your tropical rainforest area. That is, there is heavy rainfall. In those areas. So developing the infrastructure in those areas in the northeastern area is difficult. So because of various factors, and there is a huge concentration of tribal areas and also insurgency. Wherever there is insurgency, it is not a safe place to work, right? If there is a particular area, there is a disturbed area, development of various projects will be difficult. If there is huge corruption, because whenever there is insurgency, they blackmail the administrations and they also take some money from the contractors. All that take money from the contractors. So obviously there will be no quality check. It will not happen properly. So because of all these reasons, we have seen uneven development in northeast, as compared to any other region of India. So one thing is that huge tribal population, there are huge Nagas, and they are who are under 6th schedule, they are governed by autonomous district councils, right. Directly the law made by parliament is not directly applicable to the northeastern area, especially the 6th schedule area. So one more thing, so the assimilation of those tribal people to mainstream is becoming difficult, because even today they are governed by their customary rules. For example, in case of Naga, recently one woman has joined as a Naga MP, right, in parliament. It is the first Naga woman. Why? Because Nagas have a customary rules, Naga have a customary law that a woman cannot become a ruler, a woman cannot rule their country in any ruling position, right. And whereas we have in our constitution, it was mandated that we cannot discriminate on the basis of gender under Article 14, under Article 15, right. But where in Article 16 as well. But in case of Naga, they have their customary rules, and we have also given under Article 371 that Nagas will be ruled according to their customary rules. So here is a conflict between two articles. In one hand, we are giving special rights to the Nagas. In other hand, we are not we are there with this violation of constitution under Article 14 and 15 and 16. So in such a situation, what happened? The government has imposed that 33% reservation that was mandated in 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment Act, that will be given to the Naga women in Panchayat Raj elections. What happened at that time? There is a huge protest in whole Nagaland against that rule, that 30% reservation will be given to the women. Now there is a conflict between constitutional principles. So even if something is good for their development, even if something is good for the nation, still it is very difficult for the central government to take the action, because they have their customary rules. That is one thing. And another thing is that whenever there is underdevelopment, whenever there is lack of education, then such problem of insurgency, and see, there it's like a vicious cycle. You don't have development, because you are excluded from the society. That's why we call it as inclusive growth. Inclusive growth means every section of the society must contribute to the growth. That is what we call as inclusive. We will not left a particular group maybe on the basis of caste, especially those people who belongs to the lowest caste of the society. They need to include it in the growth process, so that they must include it in the national building. And another thing is that regional exclusion. There should not be any person who should be regionally excluded from the development. If you consider the Saubhagya scheme, for example, in case of Saubhagya scheme, where we are providing individual households electricity, in some areas of in Arunachal Pradesh or in some areas of hilly terrain of northeast, government has provided to very small village, who is a particular village, suppose that is situated in the topmost of a hill, they are provided with solar system, individual solar system, where we cannot transmit our electrical lines by conventional way, right. Why we are making this? Because we have to ensure that no one is left out. That is what the basis of inclusive growth. We cannot leave the northeastern people, and we have to include them in inclusive growth in every mode of development. So if the question is why there is insurgency and why the armed forces is there, so there are multiple reasons, as I have explained. First thing is that there is asymmetrical federalism. Higher number of by constitution also we have given higher autonomy to the northeastern people based on their customary rights, because they are the tribals. So far as tribal development is concerned, Indian constitution has a different approach, right. That it is initially there is 3 recommendations. First is that include the tribals forceful to the mainstream, because that is the best thing we can do for their lives. But many people has discarded that. Many scholars have discarded. We cannot forcefully bring their mainstream and stay with us or study, pursue education and live. Another view was that, okay, you leave them in their life. If they want to stay in jungle, if they are happy with staying in jungle, then leave them. That is not also our responsibility, because we are a welfare state and our responsibility is to maintain equality in the state. Our responsibility is to develop the lower section of the society, right. Whoever are the lower section, be on the basis of gender, we are providing extra women empowerment. B on the basis of caste, we are providing education, reservation. B on the basis of religion, we are providing extra rights to the minorities. So, B on the basis of region as well, we have to take care of it with extra care, because it is a responsibility of the government to bring whoever at the bottom position to the upward and maintain social and to maintain an egalitarian society. Okay. So, now if you will say whether we should what policies should government of India or Indian constitution should follow, they have to include the policy that will try to bring them, will motivate them to the mainstream. Whoever wants to come into mainstream, we must include them and we must give them education, every facility, so that they can bring social economic development among the masses. We should not leave them, right? We should try to bring them to the mainstream, but with their consent, not forcefully. Okay. So, here you have understood, I think you have understood the basic things. Next is why there is APSPA. First thing is that there is underdevelopment. First thing is there is underdevelopment. Why there is underdevelopment? Because of hindle terrain, because of insurgencies and because of negligence to the northeast. First issue. Second issue is that there is huge tribal population, right, who have their customer rights. For example, Naga, they are talking about greater Nagaland. From everywhere Nagas will stay united. There are so many tribal groups in northeast who everybody of them want a country, right? Every leader want their to be a prime minister, but we cannot allow that for the integrity and sovereignty of the nations. So, what we have to, so that is another reason. For political ambitions, they are trying to do that. There is also another issue, that is why there is insurgency. There is huge number of demographic change. For example, Tripura, especially the if we see the Bangladeshi people are coming and infiltrated in those areas. So, what happens, and some political parties, those who are illegally immigrated to the country, they political parties given them illegally some voting rights, right, make them vote banks. So, what happened, the demography changed. So, those people who are once majority in their particular area, now they have become minority and they have various social classes, and also there is a strain on resources. For earlier, for example, in a particular country, so in a particular state, suppose earlier there was 1 crore people, now they have almost 1.5 crore people. So, what happens? So, the resources available for them also reduced. So, because of all this reason, this insurgency, underdevelopment, lack of education among the lack of education or huge tribal populations, so many autonomy, and the complex federal structure. Because of all these reasons, there is underdevelopment, and because of there is insurgency. And as there is insurgency, to solve the problem of insurgency, to provide security to the masses, to provide security to the administration, there is Armed Forces Special Power Act, who will stay there if and they have the power to arrest anybody without any warrant, right. The armed forces can arrest anybody without any warrant, and also in a certain situation arises, they can kill anybody without any, without any information or without any permission, because that is a disturbed area. Anybody will come to you and will show you the gun to kill you. You cannot wait to the ministry, okay, give me the permission to kill that person because he is showing me the gun. You cannot do that, right? Immediately you have to act, and that is armed forces. And that is the issue. I am giving another example. In Srinagar, what happened in Jammu and Kashmir around 3 and 4 years ago? What happened? One incident of APSPA has happened, that some young masses, they were in a car and they were going. The first army groups wanted to stop them, but they didn't stop. They broken the barricade and the movement was continuing to move. Second police forces, they have given their warning that you stop, you must stop. They didn't stop, but finally they didn't stop. So the police expected that they are going to do something wrong, but it is that will hamper to national security. So that's why they have ordered to fire them, and some around 3 and 4 young men died. So here is the issue. You have to think about the security, even if there is. So here is the issue, that how can you be so sure that a person is not possessing some arms or gun. You cannot be completely sure. If somebody is not obeying your orders, then you may suspect, they suspected and they killed them. So it is not the responsibility. So this is what we call as extrajudicial killing. In a democracy, only judicial killings, punishment should be given by the judiciary. Law adjudication should be done by the judiciary, not by the executive. These armed forces, they are executive. They are there to execute the law. They should not have the power to kill persons, at least to kill persons, right? Because Article 21 protection of life and personal liberty is a fundamental right, and that is the most essential right of every Indian citizen, and not in any circumstances Article 721 can be violated, right? So nobody can take your life in any circumstances if you are staying in a democracy, but armed forces, special power, armed forces have that power to kill you at any time, right? Okay, that is because of security reasons. So that creates anger among the people. What they say is that all over the India, if they want to kill any person, they are going through extensive judicial procedure from below lower court to high court, then to Supreme Court, then finally they hang them. But in case of armed forces, what happens in our area, a single constable who is working in armed forces, they can kill a particular person and he is not answerable to anyone except the army, right? So this is the problem. But Supreme Court has given the green signal because that is a war zone and you cannot take permission before killing. If such situation arises, then you should give them warning if that is possible. You should stay away from killing them because that has various repercussions. That has created a mindset of such type of killing or extrajudicial killing, that creates a mindset of sacrifice. We can say Shahid concept, the Shahid concept. They will okay, one freedom fighter died, then I will be a freedom fighter. Such type of tendency develops among the youth and one other freedom fighter burns. So they should not be killed. Government of the armed forces, they should restrain maximum to kill them, but they should. But if some certain circumstances arise, they must kill them. Okay. So this is Armed Forces Special Power Act, and that is why they have been opposing, the local citizens, they have been opposing the Armed Forces Special Power Act, various civil rights activists, and recently what has happened, Union Home Ministry have considerably reduced the disturbed areas. As simple as that, we government of India do not want to, deploy armed forces everywhere in India, or they are not deploying in other states. In some areas, not in all areas of Assam, not in all areas of Manipur, not in all areas of Jammu and Kashmir. In some areas of Jammu and Kashmir where especially there is insurgency, where there is terrorism, then there is army. So what they have to do? If there is no insurgency, there will be no army. As simple as that. As insurgency has reduced, so government of India has considerably reduced the disturbed areas. Reduce the disturbed area. What is a disturbed area? That will be declared by the governor of the state. Right? This area is a disturbed area. Then Armed Forces Special Power Act will be imposed. Then AFSPA remains in force in part of these three states as well as in parts of Arunachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. Right? It is also in Arunachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, in Assam, Meghalaya and Manipur. So in these 5 states there is AFSPA. Okay. Then the order effective from April 1 would be applicable for 6 months. It will be applicable for 6 months, and after 6 months it will be again reviewed that whether should we increase the number of AFSPA to all other regions, or we should reduce the number of personnel in AFSPA or a particular territory. So in every 6 months it is revised. Why AFSPA been withdrawn now? Why it is withdrawn? Earlier it was there. The decision has come to the result of combination of circumstances. Over the last 2 decades, various parts of the northeast have seen reduction in insurgencies. So insurgencies has been reduced in northeast in the last 2 decades, right? And which are some of them are 60 years old, so long years old. It is a result of improved security situation by various technological application, various and fast track development due to consistent efforts. If a government is making development, then obviously it will get the popular support, right? A number of major groups were already in talks with Indian government, and those in talks received traction during the current regime. So various major groups which are especially continuing insurgency, they have talked with, our RN Ravi, Mr. Ravi is working, has worked there, he has done significant development. Mr. Padmanabhaya, he has also worked in Northeast, Home Secretary, former Home Secretary of India. He has also worked in Northeast, done a significant development. So encountering the Northeastern insurgency, that's why he was given Padma Bhushan Award. So various police personnel who have worked dealt with the Northeast insurgency. In Nagaland, all the major groups, NSCN, IM and Naga national political groups, NSCN, IM and Naga national political groups are at advanced stages of concluding agreements with the government, right? So they will conclude the government, what is their demands, and they have to join them the mainstream. If you have popular support, then come and fight elections, then bring change in your society. In Manipur, insurgency as well as heavy militarization have been on the decline since 2012, when the Supreme Court started hearing the PIL on extrajudicial killing. Various PIL and extrajudicial killing is also filed, that is one type of is APSPA. Manipur insurgency as heavy militarization has been declined since 2012, right? So militarization is declining, insurgency is declining, that's why ASPA coverage of area under ASPA is also declining. In Nagaland, killing of 14 villagers in Ottingmon has been having a telling impact on reviving the demand to refill APSPA. So what happens, 14 villagers was died by the APSPA in Nagaland, and that instigated the social unrest demanding repeal of Armed Forces Special Power Act. Why ASPA been withdrawn now? The decision has come as a result of combination of circumstances. In the last 2 decades, various parts of the Northeast have seen a reduction of insurgencies. There is reduction of insurgencies in various parts. Okay, next. Then what are the provisions? Under section 3, central government or the governor of the state, administrator or the union territory can declare the whole part or part of the state union territory as disturbed area. Central government or administrator or governor, they can declare a particular area or the whole state as disturbed area. An area can be disturbed due to differences of disputes between members of different religious communities, regional groups, caste or communities, that can be declared on this basis, right? If there is religious conflict, caste conflict, community conflict, in all these cases, the area can be called as disturbed. Section 4 gives the army powers to search premises and make arrest without warrants. They have the power to search the premises. If the army want to search your room, they can search your room. If the army want to make arrest you, they can arrest even without warrant, without any information. Used to force even the extent of causing death, destroy arms, ammunition dumps, fortifications, shelter, hideouts to stop, search and seize any vehicle. They can seize any vehicles and they can do anything so far as law and order is concerned in those areas of the state. Section 6 stipulates that arrested persons and the seized property to be made over to the police with the least possible delay, right? Arrested person and the seized property, that to be handed over to the police. The section 7 offers prosecution of persons in acting good faith in their official capacity. Protection of persons acting in good faith in their official capacity. So whoever working in good faith, that means if it is behavior of a particular soldier is studied, then if he is taking some actions like arresting a particular somebody and killing someone in certain circumstances, there should be a good faith. Otherwise, they will be demoralized to work in the army will be demoralized to work in a particular area. The prosecution is permitted only after sanction of the central government. In what area there will be, yes, another thing is that if a particular person is arrested, then whether he will be prosecuted or not, that consent would be given by the central government, especially by the Home Ministry. Okay, what is the significance of ASPA? Why it is there? Armed forces are deployed in counter-insurgency terrorist operations when all other forces available to the state have failed to bring the situation under control. Have failed to bring the situation under control. Armed forces operating in such an environment require certain special powers and protection in the form of enabling law. Certain special powers. Therefore, ASPA is absolutely essential to combat insurgency in the country and protect the borders. Absolutely essential to protect the borders as well, because cross-border terrorism is also there. People are conducting crimes in India and they will go and hide in Bangladesh. That is also happening. Operating in such an environment requires certain special powers and protection from the enabling law. When all other forces are available to the state have failed, bring the situation normal, right? Next. So, what is the criticism of ASPA? It provides absolute powers to the security personnel without being accounted for, right? Absolute power. It is almost equivalent to the power of the Supreme Court. In India, a Supreme Court or a High Court can only give in the capital punishment. They can give in the death sentence. But here, they are also killing the same thing. So, it is giving undue powers to the security forces. Even to kill person that is the maximum power. Then, this lead to various atrocities and human rights violations by security forces. There is also example of various human rights violation, right? Intentionally killing them because of certain perception based that they are going to threat. Critics say that undemocratic act has failed to contain terrorism and restore normalcy in disturbed areas, as number of armed groups has gone up after the act was established. It was undemocratic, killing a particular person without judiciary. The judiciary should have the right to kill them. If any other person is killing, that is extrajudicial killing, and in democracy that is not allowed. There is only rule of law, there is only due procedure of law, but that should not be violated. But as it is an undemocratic, it has failed because it has increased the number of armed groups has increased in a particular area. That means wherever armed forces are deployed, it increases the terrorism, right? So, it fuels the purpose for the very purpose for which it is deployed. It aggravates the terrorism issue. So, it should not be deployed. Many even hold the responsibility for the spiraling violence in the areas of the force. The Justice Jeevan Reddy Committee was set up in 2005 to review ASPA. Justice Jeevan Reddy Committee, remember, Jeevan Reddy Committee, Justice Jeevan Reddy Committee, this is to review ASPA in 2005. Make recommendations. The recommendations made by ASPA should be repealed and the Unlawful Activities Protection Act strengthened to fight militancy. So, recommendation given by ASPA should be, it has given recommendation that ASPA should be repealed and Unlawful Activities Protection Act strengthened to fight the militancy. UAPA, right? To counter the terrorism, we have UAPA as the insurgency has reduced. So, you should only use UAPA, not the Armed Forces Special Power Act, right? So, its relevancy has reduced according to Jeevan Reddy Committee. Okay. Next. Various human rights groups they are opposing ASPA. They are saying that it is aggressive, it is misutilized many times. Terming the ASPA is a draconian law. Renowned human rights activist Iram Chanu Sarmila of Manipur had fought for 16 years in 2016 demanding its repeal. So, for 16 years Iram Sarmila has made fast, right? It has been alleged that since 1970s there have been 1528 fake encounters in Manipur. There are fake encounters by the armed forces around in 1528 fake encounters in Manipur. That means it may also happen that a particular political leader or a particular person, they are giving bribe to a particular, particular person in armed forces and they are killing them. Such type of allegations are coming around 1528 fake encounters. Human rights activists blame ASPA for the killings, alleging that the law gives blanket protection to the army. Blanket protection to the army, that means it do not have any, and they don't have to answer to anybody, right? Even they cannot be punished, even they cannot prove, if they cannot prove, because that is a difficult situation. If there will be no protection, then a person will fear to fire. If will take delay to fire or take action, then what will happen? Maybe the security person will be die because a terrorist has nobody to, a particular terrorist have nobody to, report. They will take the decision and kill there at that place. In Nagaland, 60 years of living under ASPA regime has psychological consequences, trauma and alienation of the people. Psychological consequences, trauma. They are going through various psychological consequences, that because they have not enjoyed their full freedom or rights. Checks and balances. The act gives power to security forces to open fire. This cannot be done without prior warning given by the suspect. There should be given warning, right? Before firing there should be warning. It says that after apprehension of suspects, the security forces have to hand over them for the local police within 24 hours. This is for a normal citizen as well. If you are arresting a particular person, then you have to hand over to a magistrate within 24 hours. Same should be applied in case of armed forces. It says that armed forces must be act in cooperation with the district administration and not independent body, and not as independent body. It should live with the cooperation with district administration, right? So this is about your Armed Forces Special Power Act. So, and another thing, what are the previous attempt to repeal APSPA in 2000 activist Iram Sarmila began hunger strike in APSPA in Manipur. Then 2004 central government set up 5-member committee under Supreme Court, Justice Jivan Reddy committee, which submitted report 2005 recommending repeal of ASPA. Jivan Reddy committee recommended repeal of ASPA. Then subsequently second ARC, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, head by Birappa Moili, endorsed these recommendations. That means that is also advocated for repealing of ASPA. The former Home Secretary G.K. Pillai supported the repeal of ASPA. Former Home Minister P. Chidambaram has said that the act, if not repealed, should be at least amended. So various eminent persons have advocated against repealing of this act. Position of the state governments. It's not about repealing the act. For example, you have seen the removing of armed forces from Taliban. As soon as it is removed, as soon as the armed forces of US got removed, the state become unable to control the Taliban and suddenly took over the charge over the state, and now it is ruling. So if in a particular area, for example, if tomorrow you will remove the ASPA, what will happen? The non-state actors will get the power and join. They will create a disturbance and law and order situation. So this powers given, that gives central government to unilaterally take the decision to impose ASPA. Central government can take unilateral decision to impose ASPA. This is usually done informally in conjunction with the state governments. Just by informal communication with the state governments, ASPA is imposed. The center takes the decision after having received a recommendation from the state government. They have instances where the center have overruled the state, such as imposition of ASPA in Tripura in 1972. So center sometimes also overrule the state, even though state recommends ASPA rule, right? So that is also checks and balances, and it's not that position. Always it is the recommendation of states will be accepted. Many times it is also not accepted, like happened in Tripura. So what Supreme Court said in terms of ASPA? In 2016, Supreme Court delivered stinging rebuke to the government over the continuation of ASPA. The CJM clarified that notion of that act provides free hand to security forces is flawed. Right? It says that it is not free hand, right? They are accountable. Ruling the petition filed by the Extrajudicial Victims Families Association, Extrajudicial Victims Filing Association, a related platform of people in Manipur whose kin have alleged been killed by the security forces. The court held that due process needs to be followed in the civilian complaints reported from areas under ASPA, and the act does not provide blanket immunity to army personnel and anti-insurgency operations. That means even if the army is killing, then there is certain accountability, although not fully accountability like in say police, but they have accountability to their higher authorities. The continuance of the act in any region extended periods symbolizes According to the upper court, failure the civil administration and the armed forces. So civil administration must ensure that they can maintain the law and order, and based on that we can revoke the armed forces. But there is failure of civil administration. The apex courts also ruled that over 1500 cases of alleged fake encounters in Manipur over last 20 years must be investigated. It says that the 1500 cases which are assumed that or complained as fake encounter, they must be investigated or whether they are genuine or fake, and accordingly the steps need to be taken. What need to be done? AFSPA required to counter insurgencies. The AFSPA is required to counter insurgencies, lack of development. To counter insurgencies and lack of development in the northeast region is also a major region for the insurgency. Lack of development, that's why government is aggressively developing the infrastructure in northeastern region. Therefore, the government should urgent steps to create new opportunities for growth and development. New opportunity for growth and development, government must bring by huge public investment. AFSPA should be made more comprehensive with elaborated rules and respect the method of investigations of alleged human rights violation to reduce the possibility of misusing it. So, there should not be misuse of AFSPA. So, it should be more comprehensive. Comprehensive means in detail, in specific, that should be mentioned that in which situation, in which circumstances a person should be killed, and you should reduce the arbitrariness of the law enforcement agencies, right? In which situation they can kill and which situation what they have to do. The army should carry out fresh investigation to all alleged cases of human rights violations, right? Army will carry out fresh investigation to all the alleged cases of human rights violations. Then olive-reeded turtles. A record number of 4.92 lakh of olive-reeded turtles have been crawled into Rusikulia coast of Odisha, that is Gaharimatha Sanctuary, right? Rusikulia in Odisha in the Ganjam district, olive-reeded turtles is there. This is the highest nesting which has broken all the records of the coast. Highest nesting, that is around 4.9 lakh olive-reeded turtles, sea turtles, right? These specialized turtles which vulnerable strategies, IUCN strategies, vulnerable. Wildlife protection is Schedule 1, that means it is important for the government in India to focus on the protection of olive-reeded turtles, right. So, they are mentioned in Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1972, Schedule 1. CITES Appendix 1, so that is a very important animal for biodiversity. Then all location is found in warm waters of Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean. Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean in warm waters. Also known as Pacific Ridley Sea Turtle. Pacific Ridley Sea Turtle, olive-reeded turtles are called as Pacific Ridley Sea Turtles. What is the scientific name? Lepidochelys olivacea. Lepidochelys olivacea, this is the scientific name of olive-reeded turtles. Okay. Next. What are the features of olive-reeded turtles? The smallest and most abundant sea turtles found in the world. Most abundant sea turtles found in the world, right? Both in Atlantic, Indian and Pacific Ocean are called as, that's why they are called as Pacific sea turtles. Known for their unique mass nesting called as Aribadda. Aribadda, this is mass nesting. That means huge number of turtles will come. They will, they will nest. That means they will create their egg and store them, and they will cover with the sand, and they will go to the sea. These are carnivorous and feed mainly on jellyfish, shrimp. Carnivorous, right? They are carnivores, mainly feed on jellyfish and shrimps. Major nesting sites are Rusikulia coast, Rusikulia coast in Odisha, Gaharimatha, then Gaharimatha beach with this is Rusikulia beach, and Gaharimatha beach in Vittarkaniya National Park, and mouth of Devi river. So these are the areas where olive-reeded turtle is witnessed, right? Its status is vulnerable and it belongs to in CITES 1. In CITES it is Appendix 1. It is conserved in according to your Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It is placed in Schedule 1. That means its conservation is important. Then what are the threats? For adults, dense fishing, that is the biggest problem. Dense fishing, especially ocean going trawlers, bottom trawling, they kill them, right? or they catch them. Mechanical fishing boats and gill netters. Gill netter means they got catched by the nets, and many times they die. And many times the parts of the nets, if that are thrown in the seat in shuttles, they get the nets got they got fixed in a particular net or in different threads. They get round in their neck of the olive turtles, and they cannot escape out of that. Many types of example has seen in that regard. So that are gill turtles, and they they bind the neck of a particular turtle. Eggs, heavy predation of eggs. Predation of eggs, right? Predation. That means other animals are taking them. Indiscriminate fishing. Other animals, maybe human being or particular animals are eating their eggs, whatever. So heavy predation. Indiscriminate fishing with trawlers and gill nets and beach soil erosion. Then what are government efforts making mandatory use of turtle excluder devices and a net specially designed to allow them to escape during the catch. Special turtle excluder devices. If there is any device, a turtle can go, such type of nets to be developed that if there is turtle that is catched by the fishing net, then they must be left, right? They can escape the catch. Operation Olivia exercised by Indian Coast Guard. Every year, Indian Coast Guard Operation Olivia initiated in 1980s, helped to protect olive turtles as congregate along the Odisha coast for breeding and nesting November to December. The National Bee Board. Then next topic is National Bee Board. National Dairy Development Board in collaboration with National Bee Board organized National conclave on production of bee wax. Right? What is this bee board? We will see. What is this bee board? It is a registered society under Society Registration Act 1960. Registered society under Society Registration 1960, National Bee Board. Okay. It was reconstructed by Department of Agriculture, Cooperation, Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India under the chairmanship of Secretary. 2006. In 2006, it was reconstituted under Ministry of Agriculture. Right? Secretary was the chairman. Secretary of was the chairman. NVB is one of the national level agencies. National level agencies under Mission of Integrated Development and Horticulture. Mission for Integrated Development and Horticulture. NVB has also been designated as nodal agency for promotion of scientific beekeeping. Scientific beekeeping is a responsibility of NVB, beekeeping in the country, that is National Bee Board. Presently, main thrust of NVB is setting up integrated beekeeping development centers, IBDC centers of excellence on beekeeping, at least in one in each state. National Bee Board, right? It will promote beekeeping, right? It is a society under Society Registration Act, but in 2006 it was come under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, and Secretary is the chairman of National Bee Board, that is Secretary of Agriculture. Then objectives, overall development of scientific beekeeping, scientific beekeeping, right? That is the overall objective. India, popularizing the state of art technology, that is the modern technology, and governmental schemes for national horticultural mission, schemes like National Horticultural Mission and Horticultural Mission for Northeast and Himalayan states of the country. So the objective is basically increasing the beekeeping, scientific beekeeping, development of nucleus stock production, capacity building programs, training of bee breeders, beekeepers, processing, research work, etc., conducting of seminars, development of nucleus stock production, capacity building programs and conducting of seminars. All these things can be done. Right? Nucleus stock production, capacity building, breeders and beekeepers, processing, research work, that is done by National Bee Board. Dissemination of information technological advancement, right, to those farmers who are who are engaged in beekeeping. Dissemination of information, various information regarding the cultivation of bee in the field of beekeeping through various publications and quarterly magazines. Bee World. Bee World, it is a quarterly magazine that especially function as the source of information dissemination, right? That is, they will information dissemination, that they will see how they can improve their beekeeping. Then initiating steps for quality honey production and bee hive products overseas and domestic markets, besides enhancing productivity and various crops of bee pollination. So, quality honey production, huge amount of production, quality honey production, so that will help in export and that will also help in creating employment. Increase the employment opportunity in the rural sector, especially it is a potential for rural development. With the help of SHG, self-help groups, we can induce the bee production and that will give huge amount, that will give livelihood to various tribal population and the population of rural India. And current account deficit. What is current account deficit? India's current account deficit has increased to $23 billion, that is 2%, 7% of GDP in the third quarter, from 9.9 billion in second quarter and from 2.2 billion in the percent. Why it is increasing? So, current account deficit is increasing. What is this current account deficit? Export minus import, right? We have always a deficit, that means we have always less import, we have always less export as compared to the import. So, it is widening in quarter 3. Why it is widening? It is a shortfall between money flowing on exports and money flowing out in imports. Money flowing in on exports and money flowing out in the exports, that is the difference is called as current account deficit. Here today now it is increasing. Why? Because various global situations. It measures the gap between money received and sent on the country on the trade of goods and services, and also transfer the money domestically on factors of production abroad. That means how India is making the trade with others, that can be reflected in the current account deficit. It is slightly different from balance of trade, which measures only gap of earning and expenditure of exports and imports in the goods of services. Whereas the current account also factors the payments from domestic capital deployed overseas. Domestic capital, if you have some domestic capital that is invested in foreign countries, that also calculated in the current account deficit. For example, rental income from Indian owning house in a UK would be computed as current account, but not in the balance of trade. Rental income that will be computed in the current account system, but not in the balance of trade or BOP. Okay, it is a macroeconomic indicator that signifies the standard of economy, right? Fiscal deficit, growth and current account deficit. These are the three factors which are very important in deciding whether a particular country has the ability, is of good economic conditions or not. Right. Next. So, it is measured as percentage of GDP, trade gap, exports minus import, current account deficit, trade gap, net current transfers and net income from abroad. This is the current account deficit. Existing exchange rate, consumer spending level, capital inflow, inflation level, prevailing interest rate. These are the causes. Existing interest rate or capital inflow, inflation level, all these factors affect the current account deficit in India. For the current account deficit in India, crude oil and gold imports are primary reasons behind the high CID. Crude oil and gold imports. Now the crude oil price has increased because there is supply constraint. And after the post-pandemic and also because of Ukraine and Russia war, there is supply issues. So the prices of oil across the world has increased not less than 15%. Also in India, it has increased. That's why we have increased current account deficit. The current account deficit may be positive or negative indicator of the economy depending upon why it is running the deficit, right? Why it is running the deficit. It may help a debtor nation for a short term, but it may worry for long term as investors being raising concerns over adequate return of their investments, right? In short term, you may be happy, you may get even profited, but in long term, you must try to come out of current account deficit. Because why? You have current account deficit means you have problem in export. You have problem in export means you are producing low quality goods, right? So you are producing low quality goods means there will be no employment. So you have to provide employment. If you provide employment, if you produce good quality of products, that will lead to overall economic development, and also that will lead to export, that will make Indian goods competitive in world market, and also that will reduce the problem of current account deficit. What are methods to deal with current account deficit? It could be reduced by boosting exports or by curbing non-essential imports such as gold, mobiles, electronics. We should not import because they creates current account deficit, or we can boosting exports. If we boost exports, current hedging, bridging user rules for manufacturing entities to raise the foreign funds could also help, right? Currency hedging, right? Manufacturing entities to raise foreign funds, that will also help, and they can boost the economy. The government and RBI could look at review on the debt investment limits for FPI and other measures. Right? If there is situation like current account deficit, the government of India and RBI, they could look into various debt investment that limits, that is for FPI, that is in foreign portfolio investment or in share market, how much you can invest. The government will review them on the basis of, because if there is huge inflow of foreign funds, then what will happen? Then obviously we have to give more dollars, we have to give more money to count dollars, that will lead to current account deficit. We have to encourage them more coming to, bringing, by taking money, that by taking means we have to take their dollars. What steps should we take so that they will take our money, and demand of money will increase and current account deficit will reduce. That will be reviewed by the RBI and the government of India. Then Matlab One STEM national portal, we have already discussed it actually in last class. It is a software, no cost for Indian space science, technology and engineering facilities. iSTEM, it is a software, right? Matlab software. It is hosted by cloud server iSTEM to provide user friendly access from anywhere in India. Matlab is proprietary multi-paradigm programming language and numeric computing environment of MathWorks. It is expected to assist many students, research scholars in the country. This iSTEM, this will create, it will help many students and research scholars in math work and also in scientific science and technology and engineering. Okay. Next, let us discuss the prelims questions. First, with reference to the balance of payments account, consider the following. All transfer payments are part of the balance of, no. All transfer, wherever there is all, then that is wrong. It is wrong. They are not capital account. Some are in current account as well. As I have said, rent payment from a person having a house in UK, that is current account. Indian rupee is fully convertible. No, it is not fully convertible. It is partially convertible. We have fully convertible in current account deficit, not in current account, not in the capital account. It is not fully convertible in capital account. So second option is also wrong. Both options are wrong. Remember, they are not convertible in capital account. With reference to the World Bank assisted program Raising and Accelerating MSME Performance (RAMP), consider the following statements. It was formed on the basis of recommendation made by Santhanam Committee and KV Kamath Committee. Raising and Accelerating MSME. Santhanam Committee and KV Kamath Committee, it is right. It is World Economic Forum assisted by Assisted Central Sector Scheme. Yes, it supports various COVID resilience and recovery interventions in the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. All the options are right so far as raising and accelerating MSME, that is performance, that is RAMP is concerned. Then with reference to olive related totals, consider the following statements. They are the smallest and most abundant of all sea turtles that are found in the world. They are the smallest. Yes, they are the smallest. Remember, sea turtles are the smallest. They are found only in the Pacific. No, they are not only in the Pacific. They are found in Pacific, Indian Ocean and also Atlantic. Right? They are recognized as vulnerable by IUCN Red List. Yes, they are recognized as vulnerable. So 1 and 3 options are right. They are placed in Schedule 1 of Indian Wildlife Protection Act. They are also placed in your Appendix 1 of CITES. Right? With reference to coal in India, consider the following statements. There is no coal reserves in the state of Karnataka. Yes, no coal reserves in the state of Karnataka. Dhanwad district considered coal capital in India. It is also true. Dhanwad district, right? Especially those regions which are called as coal regions are called as Gondwana land regions, right? In that is nearer to Gondwana river. For example, in case of Talcher, Odisha, in Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, we see Bokaro, there is huge amount of coal reserves, Gondwana coal reserves, they are called as. So 1 and 2 both options are right options. With reference to National Field Development Corporation, NFDC, consider the following in the film division takes the organized National Film Awards. No, they do not organize National Film Awards. It is Film Directorate of, that is Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. They organize National Film Awards. National Film Heritage Mission aiming to digitalization and restoration of films. Documentaries will now be implemented by NFDC. Digitalization, National Film Heritage Mission, they will be implemented by National Field Development Corporation. So 2 only option is the right option. So here the lecture ends. Like this video, share this video and subscribe to Vanik-Ias Academy. And we must inform you that we are going to start a new program especially for prelims for UPSC, and we will discuss 20 questions, objective questions based on UPSC pattern and that are based on current affairs only, because UPSC asks anything that is current affairs, they will ask a related question. So those topics which in current affairs, based on them we will discuss around 20 questions daily from 2:30 to 3, and from 3 to 3:30 there will be mains discussion. So we are going to changing the pattern. So I think all of you will be interested and that will be helpful to all of you, or you can also suggest what should we make, that will be helpful to you. You can write in the comment section. Thank you.